Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Amazing.
Around the nation, Waldorf Nation, hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Wednesday. You know what sucks is I had to actually think about that for a second. What time is it, or what day is it anymore? Doesn't it all just kind of blend together at some point? It does for me, apparently. But hey, we got a good show for you today. At least I think we do. We're gonna have some fun. Marjorie Taylor Greene goes even more psycho. I know. Some of you are asking, how isn't she already psycho? Oh, more. Definitely. We got Candace Owens getting accidentally based on healthcare. Wait, what? I love it when conservatives end up making the point for us. Fun times. We got Eric Swalwell. Interesting discussion. And so we all know politicians, a lot of them are fakes and frauds and are playing characters, essentially. But Swalwell's just going to come out with it. And so that's fun times. We're also going to talk about the striking Frito-Lay workers. So I'm a union guy. That's me. So I'm really in favor of, strikes. I'm in favor of labor, obviously, labor action, and all that wonderful stuff. So I definitely want to talk about that story. It was JR Wednesday. Yeah, I missed TDR. So normally, I'm going through, and I actually don't get the chance to do a lot of shows or watch a lot of shows during the day, because I'm trying to navigate executive dysfunction. I'm also trying to not get distracted by every single thing that passes by, like, for example, on social media, Twitter, Facebook, etc. And I'm trying to focus on prepping stories and reading. And so, watching a show, if I watch a show, that's it. I'm done. My attention is destroyed. And so, hey, I like TDR. Obviously, it was a lot of fun being on TDR. And I definitely want to do the show again. But if I try to watch it during the day, well, that's it. I'm not getting anything done. So, I mean, unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. Nonetheless, where was I at? Already, wow, this is a great start to the show, isn't it? Are you under a very tiny machine gun attack? I don't believe so. Why? What's going on? Is there a thing? Is there a thing going on here with the sound? What's going on here? I do know that my air conditioner makes noises. So maybe if you got some pretty sensitive headphones or your speakers up, you might hear my air conditioner. But hey, anyway, I can assure you I am absolutely safe. Rapid fire clicking. Interesting. But yeah, it's definitely got to be my my air conditioner, which, like I said, makes noise. Does that. All right. Anyway. Hey, already I want to thank Gilgork for resubbing with Prime. Appreciate that. 4 months. Awesome. And Tempedan, thank you for gifting 5 tier 1 subs. Really, really appreciate that. And Christina, thank you for the 100 biddies. Everybody check out Christina's channel. She's working on getting affiliate, and she's super close. So help her get over that hump and watch her streams. Like I said, incredibly based. So, all right. Yeah, it just sounds like a fan. Because it is, and it really does not work that well. It is still really hot in here. All right. Anyway. Should probably dive into this here. If you haven't already, please like and share the stream. Very important. Helps out greatly if you can do so for us, for the show. Much appreciations. You don't hear it? That's because some people hear it, some people don't. Some people have more sensitive speakers and ears or headphones, and some people don't. You know, it is what it is. Hopefully it's not too distracting, though. I know some people do get distracted. All right. Anyway. I suppose we ought to, kind of dive into the show. Let's see. We'll have to start out, of course, with Marjorie Taylor Greene. So get ready for that. Let's do it. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is once again spreading disinformation, dangerous disinformation about vaccines, and of course about COVID-19. She recently went on convicted criminal Steve Bannon's show and said, well, this, take a look.
We all know he's lied. And here we've seen most of these senators, we've seen the Democrats, Joe Biden administration, we see them holding this man up and heralding him like he's some sort of hero, but yet he's the one that has been running his own personal human experiment with COVID-19 because gain of function is his baby, and then he paid for it with our tax dollars. This man needs to be investigated. How dare he use our tax dollars to create some sort of disgusting evil science that has killed so many people all over the world and fund it with our tax dollars? This man is an enemy to our nation. He's an enemy to the world because he played a major role in creating a bioweapon, which is COVID-19.
Wow. Okay. So now obviously she's going after Dr. Fauci. And look, earlier she said something about how the left is like holding him up as some sort of infallible, hero symbol, whatever. No, I think I think the guy was just doing his job, and is doing his job, and has been wrong a couple of times, but mostly has been on the right track. Pro-mask, pro-vaccine, obviously, calling out disinformation. Again, nobody's perfect. I actually kind of get annoyed about the hero worship that you get from certain people, especially on the liberal side. Like we're better than that, right? Aren't we better than that? I mean, you see it with Mueller, or you saw it with Mueller during the Mueller report. You had the weird shirtless cartoon of Robert Mueller coming in to dispense justice to the evil Cheeto man. And then, of course, it didn't happen because Robert Mueller's a Republican. And so, again, the whole hero worship and veneration just really, really bothers me. And so, that said, nothing of what she said about Dr. Fauci was true at all. Disgusting, evil science experiment. What are you talking about? You're insane. You're crazy. Again, what she's trying to do is an interesting conflation here. So there's some very legitimate theories about whether this escaped a lab, right? Or it's a lab leak, right? And so accidents do happen. If it ended up being a lab leak, that doesn't necessarily mean the same thing as genetic bioweapon, okay? And that's what this is. She's combining the two things and flipping back and forth between it escaped from a lab, and we don't know if that's the case, and it was created and released into the population as some sort of weird Chinese communist plot. It's really, really insane. COVID-19 is a naturally occurring coronavirus. There was no engineering, no gain of function, in order to make it infect humans. What would be the ultimate point? To release a virus that kills millions of people across the world, except, people who are vaccinated, in which now this is a disease of the unvaccinated. 99.7% of Americans that are dying from this are unvaccinated. And so, what the ultimate goal? What? Well, she's going to answer that. Global communism. Of course. Take a look.
There is a huge problem we have right now here in Washington, D.C., and that is the fact that a bunch of these people are communist. They're communist. They all of their policies.
What do you mean by they're communist?
They're communist because the policies coming out of the Democrats, the open borders, wrecking our economy.
Is this really a communist Democratic Party?
I believe it is. I used to call them socialist. I've completely changed. Now that I have taken hard looks into their policy, I've studied China, studied the Communist Party of China, went to California, seen the communist government in California. What we are dealing with is communism. So I'll tell you something, Steve. You know what bothered me? When we saw the Dow started to tank the other day because COVID cases are rising, that's when we saw a big narrative change. You saw Fox News going crazy of, we got to get everybody vaccinated. Sean Hannity, we got to get everybody vaccinated. And you start hearing all these Republicans coming out with their messaging. We got to get everybody vaccinating. You know what that has to do with everyone? Wall Street. Wall Street. Wall Street. It's not about COVID cases, because here's the reality. The California shutdowns, the mask mandates didn't work. That didn't stop COVID cases from spreading and people getting COVID. No, that didn't work at all. Vaccines, guess what? People that have gotten vaccinated are getting COVID again. They're testing positive. So here's what will work. We have to fight this government out of controlling our lives. They want full control, because if they can shut you down, if they can force you to vaccinate your kids, if they can force you to vaccinate at work, at school, at church, and wear masks again, they are controlling you, and that's how America becomes a communist country.
So wait. It's communism, but also Wall Street. It's Wall Street communism? What? Holy contradiction, Batman. What the fuck are you talking about? This woman is grade A stupid. Total, and look, later on I'm going to talk about, how a lot of Republicans are actors, okay? They don't believe this stuff. Marjorie Taylor Greene totally believes it. She's got psycho eyes. You can tell. You look into her face. That she's 100% a true believer in this. Insane. And okay, so let's break it down. I'm seeing this talking point all over, right? Oh, people who are vaccinated are getting coronavirus. Therefore, vaccine bad. That's not a gotcha. That's not the own that you think it is. We've known all along that there are always breakthrough cases that do happen. Breakthrough cases happen when it comes to the flu shot. Do people not get the flu shot as a result? No, people get the flu shot, and sometimes you get the flu shot, you get the flu. That doesn't mean the shot's not effective. It just means that there are breakthrough cases. Anybody who knows anything about vaccines or anything about medicine at all knows that breakthrough infections absolutely can happen, especially now with coronavirus, where we have variants that are way, way more infectious than the original COVID-19 strain. So now, if you ask your doctor, and I strongly recommend, if you have any sort of vaccine hesitancy or any sort of questions, please call your doctor. Call your freaking doctor, right? And talk to them. Most likely, your doctor is going to be more than happy to tell you what's what with the vaccine. If you trust your family doctor, You know, the family doctor that, you know, you really want to keep with your health insurance, right? At least that's the argument. Like, oh, we can't go to Medicare for all because I want to keep my doctor and my insurance, which in Medicare for all, you would keep your doctor. And then you could ditch your shitty insurance company. But anyway, that's a different conversation. You ask your doctor, they're going to tell you the truth about the coronavirus vaccine. They're going to tell you that it is safe and that it is effective. It is not 100% effective at preventing you from getting the virus, and nobody at all is saying that it's 100% effective at prevention. Not one actual doctor makes those claims, but they do offer protection against getting it. And if you do happen to get it, a breakthrough case, it also helps prevent severe illness and or death. And that's what's important here. And not only that, but it's also been shown to reduce the risk of spreading COVID-19 or the virus that causes COVID-19, which is why people who get vaccinated and still get COVID-19 are not the ones that are sitting in the hospital dying right now. They either get no symptoms or very mild symptoms, and that is the vaccine at work. And I was reading articles earlier today in preparation for the story, right? So there's this article where there was, doctors in Alabama, right, that are talking about people who are, in these COVID wards that have been brought back because you've got such a spike in cases in these areas. And you got these people that are about to get intubated, which means getting a tube shoved down your fucking throat. I couldn't imagine a worse thing than to get that, okay, than to be intubated, okay? And so these people, they're about to get intubated, and they're begging this doctor, okay, give me the vaccine, give me the vaccine, give me the vaccine. And the doctor, she's like, look, I'm sorry. That's not how it works. It's too late. You can't the vaccine is not a cure. The vaccine is not a treatment. It is a prevention measure. That's what it is. And so, I mean, again, not a miracle cure, not a treatment. What it does is that it builds up your immune system to be stronger towards that particular virus. And the COVID-19 vaccine literally teaches our immune systems how to recognize and fight that virus. It's not gene therapy. It's not gene editing. Doesn't change your DNA. Doesn't magnetize your skin. Look, if you look at it, and you can look up the ingredients to whichever vaccine you get. I looked up the Pfizer ingredients before I got mine, right? Two of the bigger ingredients were polyethylene glycol and salt. Pretty much a salty laxative. And the important part of the vaccine, of course, is the mRNA instructions that teach your body how to fight the virus. That's how vaccines work. And mRNA, it sounds, oh my God, new and scary. We've actually been looking at this and studying this for the last 30 years, 3 decades. So this isn't new. This isn't experimental. This is something that finally got, some real, impetus, research behind, right? To tackle COVID-19, but it's not a new idea. It has been studied, and finally it's getting applied, right? And so normally how normal vaccines work, and this is not quite like the normal vaccine, this is why some people do call it experimental, right? Is that normally vaccines will contain a weakened live virus that teaches your body how to fight the virus. This one, the mRNA, just gives you a set of instructions. So now how the live virus works is that it gets into your cells, injects its, instructions into your cells. Your cells are little factories. And what they do is that they create copies of the virus, right? Well, this doesn't do that. It doesn't actually get your body to create virus, which then has your immune system, of course, attack it. This has the instructions for the spike protein. The spike protein is the thing that, of course, I believe the virus uses to attach to your cells. But this one doesn't have live virus in it. And so that spike protein, your body, your immune system is taught to seek out and destroy that spike protein. I believe that's how it works. So, yeah. There are some differences, okay? But again, this has been proven to be effective and safe. So now it kind of feels like, I don't know, people on the right either don't understand or don't bother to try to understand, or they just purposely lie about the vaccines and exploit people's ignorance. And that's it. I'm not sure where Marjorie Taylor Greene lands on this, whether or not she's ignorant or exploiting ignorance. I guess, as I said before, I do think that she is a true believer. Okay? But either way, she's wrong. She's wrong on so much of it. Now, there was something interesting she said, going back to the Wall Street communism, which is interesting. Okay? So let me just refresh you on what she said. She said, when we saw the Dow starting to tank the other day because COVID cases are rising, that's when we saw a big narrative change at Fox News. You had Fox News going crazy. We've got to get everyone vaccinated. Sean Hannity comes out and says, we got to get everyone vaccinated. That's actually kind of close. I mean, the level, she accidentally gets some insight there. And so, yes, I've talked about this. The narrative at Fox has absolutely changed. Now, and yes, it is because of the almighty stonks. It's not because of communism. No, it's capitalism. And so what is actually going on is, look, you have these cases that are rising. You have people that are worried, right? That this is going to get worse, that this is going to affect business. Business does not want to be affected by this. And so the biggest group of people that are having the problem now with the waves of the vaccine are people who are unvaccinated in red states. And so this is why Fox News is going, oh my God, my handlers, my donors, our donors are the business people, the business community that backs us. Well, they don't want to lose business. They don't want to lose customers. They don't want to have to worry about coronavirus lockdowns or any sort of measures or mandates. And so, yes, we'll push people to get vaccinated. For one, because we know the vaccines actually work. And that's the thing that she leaves out and that she doesn't get. Why would they push a vaccine that doesn't work? It works. That's why they're pushing the vaccine. So that they can go back to making money. They can go back to business. It's capitalism. And the other thing, of course, is you also know how the vaccine works because rich people got it first. It's true. Rich people got it first. That's how you know, because they wouldn't get something that doesn't work. Just saying. But no, she comes so close and then goes on to communism. All right, well, there you go. Oh, look, all you got to do is vaccinate people. It's that easy. Literally that easy. And yes, by the way, there are people that do have negative reactions to the vaccine. A few thousand have had an adverse reaction, and then, of course, they recover. Now, just over 1,000 have actually died. Now, that's a problem, but when you do the cost-benefit analysis here, you have 1,000 that have died out of over 300 million doses. Do the math. That's an incredibly small percentage of people that have had a fatal adverse reaction. Overwhelmingly safe and effective. For God's sake, get your vaccine. Yes, a lot more people have had a negative reaction to coronavirus. See, my job here is to give you the truth, right? My job here is not to sugarcoat it. My job here is to give you the facts and then the figures and the numbers. Okay? Yes, I would be lying. I would be doing a disservice if I would say, oh no, nobody's ever had a negative reaction to a vaccine. That's simply not true. Yes, people have had negative reactions. But the percentage of people is so infinitesimally small compared to the benefits and compared to the virus that it's treating, right? That getting a vaccine is an absolute no-brainer. Get your vaccine. For God's sakes. Save some goddamn lives. All right? He's leaving out the rest of your comment. Who is? Hold. Now I'm going to have to go read that. Second shot made me sick as a dog for 6 weeks, but that's behind me now. Yeah, I mean, and that's normal to expect that kind of reaction from it. What I'm talking about for adverse reactions is like heart issues, right? You get heart issues or you get some other like potentially life-threatening issue. That's an adverse reaction. What you're talking about is I felt like crap for a few days, or it did make me feel sick for a few days. And that is to be expected. That's the warning. That's what they tell everyone. Hey, look, there is a chance that you're going to feel like shit for a few days. You're possibly going to get sick, but then, of course, that's a result of your body learning how to fight this and the immune reaction as a result. So, anyway, I'm glad you feel better, though. And yes, look, I had a friend who, got his vaccine. When I got my second shot, I felt like a little less energetic for a day. And then I felt better. And so I was lucky. I think my wife had a headache and a little bit of a fever for like a day. And that was it. I had a friend who apparently had the vaccine, the second shot. No, it was his first dose, actually. And he was out for like a week. He like muscle aches. He's like, oh, my crotch. I was like, whoa, really? But yeah, apparently he had some really, really bad muscle aches and felt like just absolute garbage for like the next 5 days. And so that does happen. But overall, when you look at it, though, compared to the alternative, compared to getting intubated, compared to, being on a ventilator or possibly dying, or and ending up with the COVID, the long haul COVID, yeah, I'd take feeling like crap for a few days over any of that. Super chat here from Michael Nourish. Greetings from Australia. My dog loves the show. Hi, thank you. One thing that's been bugging me, though, what is that YouTube placard over my left shoulder? That, my friend, is the thing that you get when you pass 100,000 subs. So whenever you have a YouTube channel that passes 100,000 subs, they literally send you a plaque, which is kind of awesome. I got the J&J one shot, felt a little crappy a couple of days after, but then I was fine. Yeah. The early ones were 70%, yet the people treated the scientists or created them as saints. Well, I mean, if something is 70% effective versus not having that protection, yeah, generally that's pretty good. I mean, I'd take that. Oh, in that case, congratulations. Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, that was, oh God. That was like 2 years ago that happened. So now I'm working on my way to 200,000, which I'm getting close. I'm getting close. 163,000. But, let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking at the comments here. I just saw one. That was really good. Wall Street communism is an oxymoron. I know, but that's what she's literally saying. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird. She's insane. What else can you say? I don't know anyone who has a reaction. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's very good. Let's see. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for all the kind statements, by the way. All right. Let's move on. Let's go to Candace Owens. Candace Owens went accidentally based while trying to undermine the push to get more people vaccinated. I'm going to note that I do believe that Candace Owens has very likely already been vaccinated, just like a lot of these different grifters, people like Tommy Lahren, all the people at Fox News, because literally you need a vaccine passport to get into the Fox News building. But hey, the grift is real, everyone. But hey, she did so in a very interesting way by suggesting the government may have ulterior motives for making the vaccine free, which it's technically not, but I'll get into the details of that. But basically her point is, oh, if they wanted to really save people's lives, well then why don't they just make other medications free? Oh man, she's so close. Here's her tweet. He said, and she's quoting, the COVID vaccine saves lives, which is why the government is making it free. Okay, so explain to me why insulin and asthma inhalers cost so much money. If the vaccines are really about the government trying to save your life, why do life-saving medicines cost so much? Oh my God, she's almost there. She's almost there. She's so close. Almost based Candace Owens. Oh, just a little more. Just a little more. We'll make a comrade out of you yet. Okay, but oh look. Yes, I believe that medication and healthcare should be free at the point of service. As we all know, of course, nothing's free, but here's the thing. We paid for the vaccine, for example, through tax money. We did. We paid for the development, we paid for the deployment of it. And so this time, this is one of the cases where we paid for something through taxes and the government gave it to us without putting in extra costs or like profit motive. So that's great. In this case, the funding was socialized and then the benefit was also socialized. Wonderful. Wonderful. We get what we paid for, a working vaccine available to everyone, free of any upfront charge. Well, that's kind of how, universal healthcare is supposed to work. Something like single payer, which, again, the same principle. You socialize the funding, and then the benefits get socialized. Everyone gets them because everyone pays in through their taxes. There you go. Right now, by the way, it doesn't necessarily work that way, obviously, with healthcare and with medicine right now. The COVID vaccine is actually a rare exception to that. Right now, the government subsidizes the development of different medications, which is then picked up and privatized by private corporations to be sold at profit to regular people. That's a problem. Socializing the development, but privatizing the gains. That's how our system generally does work. That's why, to answer Candace's own question, that's why insulin and inhalers are so expensive. They have taken something that was supposed to be free to the public or very, very low cost, and they privatized the gains. And they sell it at an incredible markup. It takes about $6 to create a vial of insulin, and yet they sell it for about $300. Come on. The problem here is obvious. It's capitalism in healthcare. If you remove the profit incentive, you end up actually being able to develop and socialize drugs and then socialize, to give them to everyone, okay? You socialize the funding and you're able to socialize the distribution. That's it. So now, of course, the inevitable comment is, well, if you remove the profit motive, then why would anybody ever develop these drugs? Yes, why would anyone ever make anything, any of the medications, or any of the medicines that have ever happened in the entire history of humanity without there being profit motive tied to it? You dunce. Why don't you ask the guy who developed insulin, for example? And if you're not familiar who that is, it was Dr. Frederick Banting, who in 1923 received, with his team, a Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for the discovery of insulin. He saw that people were dying. And before then, before the discovery of insulin, by the way, you had people who were diabetic literally had to go on what was called a starvation diet, which is exactly what it sounds. So now, when the Nobel Prize, and this is a fun fact, right, was awarded only to him and his associate John McLeod, he was furious that the contributions of the other members of his team had not been recognized. Both Banting and McLeod shared their prize money with the others, his team, who worked on the discovery. Also, fun fact, this would have made Dr. Banting very rich, this discovery. Had he sold it to corporations and said, okay, I'm going to sell you the rights to insulin, and what I'm going to do is, you're going to give me a lot of money, and then you're going to be able to sell it at a lot more money, at a big markup. You're going to make a ton of money. But no, here's what he did instead. He gave away the patent for free. Dr. Banting believed that insulin should be free to everyone, not held out of reach at exorbitant prices. Unfortunately, that's what's happening today. Dr. Banting is literally rolling in his grave right now to see what has happened to his gift to humanity. To see this exploited, regular people exploited, and this drug commercialized. The guy who discovered insulin did not want this to happen. And I give you that example because most people who develop these drugs and who have, developed life-saving techniques in the past have done so not because of a profit motive. They have done these things in order to advance humanity, to do something good and positive for the world and for their people. Okay? That's what they do. Unfortunately, that has been lost today in our greed-centered system. And people forget that. So, that said, I'm gonna allow Twitter to chime in because there's some good responses here. Okay. Romy says, "Is this Comrade Candace Owens I see? Dragging her to the left has begun." Accidentally Based said, "So you agree, Candace? All healthcare should be free?" The Hell Curve says, "Candace, I didn't know you were secretly a Bernie bro this whole time." LHY says, "Candace Owens went so far right, she went left." Oops. Simon Gerthy says, "They come so close to getting it and then ricochet off into stupid directions." Yes, it's true. And then Taylor Nichols MD says, "Brilliant idea, Candace. I suggest you become a forceful advocate for exactly that. If we made vaccines free, we should make other treatment free too, right? I'm all for it. Let's go." And by the way, understand that the people that back Medicare for all the most are people that are in the health field, nurses, especially the United Nurses, for example. They're one of the biggest proponents of Medicare for all, of a single-payer system here in the United States. So remember that. The people that are working in this field see the destruction and damage that is wrought by our for-profit system every single day. And finally, Muhammad Dr. Jones says this: "She's come out as pro-choice and in support of socialized healthcare all in the last week."
Amazing.
True. All right. Amazing. Oh, I love it. Okay. In the UK, insulin is free. The NHS. Yeah, yeah. Here in America, we are barbarians. We are absolutely just horrible to our own people. This is, and I know. Go ahead and let people, right wingers come in and say this stuff. Make fun of this, right? But I do think that lack of healthcare is violence. You're perpetrating violence upon people by not treating them when they're sick, by not allowing them to get health care, by not allowing them to get medication. That is violence. Just like poverty is violence, homelessness is violence. You are perpetrating, maybe not personally or physically, but society. It's societal violence. And it's disgusting. All right. I don't get people who think you have a right to open carry a gun, but don't have a right to health care so you can live. Yeah, and the other irony about that too, and that's a great comment right there. I totally agree with that. It's crazy. Those same people, by the way, if you get shot by the guy open carrying the gun, right? Oh, it's my right to bear arms. And look, I believe in the Second Amendment, right? I'm an American. I think, yeah, you sure, whatever. Those same people will go and then when they shoot up a place and the people who get affected by this need health care, they don't believe that, the right wingers don't believe that those people should get health care. That's insane. Like, oh no, I believe in that guy's right to carry a gun, and then if he shoots somebody, well, that sucks. But the people who were actually shot and hurt, injured, maimed for the rest of their lives, it sucks for them. But they should just go and GoFundMe. How many times have we heard shooting victims, coming home with this gigantic medical bills and having to go bankrupt or GoFundMe? Shit like that. No, that's insane. Insane. We're a barbaric country. Best in the world, my ass. Okay, anyway. California Representative Eric Swalwell had a very interesting anecdote during a podcast appearance with the Midas Touch guys. Take a look.
It's pro wrestling, to be honest. Many of my colleagues are better suited to work at the WWE. And I say that about Gates because I've worked with him on marijuana issues. I've worked with him on other issues, especially really before Trumpism took off and he turned into a character. And he would, there were times where he would laugh at himself about how stupid he had to act, to keep, the act going. That's what's so frustrating. And this may sound crazy, but if you ran into Matt Gaetz or Ted Cruz or Jim Jordan at the Santa Monica Pier, you would say, these are nice guys. Boy, they're nothing like, what I see them do on Twitter or TV. And I write about this in the book. During the impeachment trial in the Senate, Ted Cruz came up to me, like we bumped into each other in the Senate bathroom, and he said, hey, I think you're doing a great job out there. I just want you to know that. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? He just scorched me on Fox News like the night before. He tweets at me like every other week. But to him, if you're a pro wrestler, like it doesn't matter that you hit me over the head in the ring with a steel chair. It's all fake, right? You're just doing what the fans want. So I should just be cool with it because he projects onto me what he does. He thinks that I'm just performing as well. And that's what's most sickening is that I don't even know what these guys believe. Like, I really don't. I think they just are giving what they think the fans want.
That's like super honest. Yep. When he says, well, it's all fake. Yeah, of course. Of course it's all fake. Of course, of course. And look, honestly, those of us who pay attention, we know this for a fact. We do. It's super, super obvious. Yes, most of our politicians are absolutely fake. Yes, they're playing parts. And they're not. Look, okay, here's the thing. Right? So, yes, they play parts. They say certain things. They have talking points laid out for them. They have bills that are literally written for them that they go and present by these, big giant groups, right? And they have talking points that are presented to them, all that stuff, right? They do this so they can stay in power, or they can get power and then stay in power. 100%. Most of these people are actors. Now, there are a few that are legitimately themselves. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I have almost no question that she's a believer. I think she's literally crazy. Like, that's psycho mom right there, okay? She is who she is. Donald Trump, same thing. Donald Trump is absolutely who he is. The guy is not smart enough to play a part. Like, he absolutely is who he is. But Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Ted Cruz, no, they're actors. So kabuki. You think Ted Cruz believes in the things that he says and the things that he tweets? You think that he's, actually like not playing a part? No, I'm totally, absolutely. What you see is what you get. Yeah, yes, I'm Ted Cruz, constitutional conservative. I'm strong. No, as soon as his donors called, for example, when he was going against Donald Trump during the primary, right? Oh, I'm so tough. I'm going to take on Donald Trump. He's a terrible person. Blah, blah, blah. As soon as the donors called, immediately changed his tune. That's when he was, making that famous image of him literally phone banking for Trump. Even after Trump called his wife ugly and said his dad would kill JFK. Come on, man. Like, of course it's the money. Of course it's the act. Of course it's the grift. And then, going through that, whatever, congressional bathroom. Understand that, like, game understands game. Or they believe they understand game, right? So he comes and says, oh, you're doing such a good job at the impeachment hearing. Oh, yeah, you're doing great. You're really, they understand that when they go after each other, it's theatrical. There's very few people in Washington, in Congress, that are legitimate people. It's really hard to find someone who actually means what they say and is actually authentic. That's why people really liked Bernie Sanders, for example. The guy's pretty authentic, right? Like, yeah, he believes the things that he says, and he's only been living them for, 40 years, the past 40 years, and it's been consistent on these issues. There are very, very few, like I said, who are actual real people. Especially, there are so few that are actual real people that are good people. Now, the recent so-called populist wave on the right has led a couple real people into Congress that just happen to be batshit crazy. So, there's that. But here's the sad thing about this, all right? Not just the fact that these politicians are actors, most of them. It's the fact that for them, for the decisions that affect our lives, you and I, regular people, those decisions are a game. It is a theater to them. It is a way to amass power, amass money, and influence. And then what's the overall goal here? The goal, generally for a lot of these politicians, is to either serve in the Senate or the House or whatever, serve an elected office, maybe eventually get elected president, whatever, make a lot of money, get a lot of influence, all that stuff. Or if you're not going that high, just to serve a little while and then get a nice cushy corporate job lobbying, where all you have to do is your entire day is calling up politicians or actually waiting for politicians to call you so that you can go to Hobnob and fancy luncheons and, do all that fun stuff. That's not actually work. No. Go and lobby and be like, oh, I'm having this fancy lunch. And then, hey, by the way, my donor, my boss, wants you to co-sponsor or, this bill or to sponsor this bill. There you go. That's really it. That corporate lobbying job, that's super cushy, super comfortable. And that's what a lot of them are looking forward to. Public service is not about service anymore. For them, it's a means to an end, and it's never been about serving the public interest. Know these people for who they are. Crooks, frauds, charlatans, and people looking out pretty much only for themselves. All right. Let's move on. We demand moderation. Look, I got to find a moderator for the, for the YouTube chat. Sarge Tech was awesome. He is very difficult to replace. Let's just say that. But we're gonna work on that. So, hey, tweet me whatever. I'll take a look and see, who I think could moderate, be a good moderator. Keep that chat free of the crap. All right. Anyway. Over the last couple of weeks, workers at the Frito-Lay plant in Topeka, Kansas, have been on strike. So now they're on strike because of terrible working conditions in the plant that actually makes a ton of our favorite snack foods, at least mine. And so they described working conditions as well as low pay, but working conditions that are absolutely horrifying. They range from extremely long shifts, nicknamed suicide shifts, to extremely hot and deadly temperatures inside the plant. So now you might be wondering, wait, suicide shift? What the hell is that? It's about as bad as it sounds. The suicide shifts are where workers will come in for 8 hours, then are forced to work 4 more hours of overtime, then are called 4 more hours early, called in 4 hours early, and then basically you're working a lot and you only have about 8 hours in between shifts. So it's like 16-hour days. That's horrible. When do you have time for anything but sleep? Or do you even have time for sleep? Not really. Not a good night's rest. And now I understand that, because I remember I started working at a bumper factory way back when, in like 2004, and they were on 7/12s, and so I hired in at pretty much the end of it. So I had like 2 weeks, maybe, it's about 2.5 weeks of solid 7/12s, and I was like, holy shit, this is bad. What day is it? It's not Friday. I haven't gotten paid. What day is it? You lose track of time. You don't get a lot of sleep. Luckily, I lived like 5 minutes away. But imagine if you have to travel like an hour, which some people do. And so 1 hour there, 1 hour back, 12-hour shifts, or in this case, 16-hour shifts. You get 6 hours to come home, do whatever you got to do, maybe catch a quick nap, and then you're back. You're back at work. You're basically living at work. And by the way, a lot of people who are working those 7/12s at the factory that I hired into, they were like, yeah, we lived in the parking lot. Like, we just camped out. I lived out of my car for like a month. I would go home, every once in a while to, go get more stuff or whatever, and you take showers here at work, and that was it. Yeah, it's pretty terrible. Just absolutely awful. And now I also remember, by the way, the toll it takes. At another point in time, I was working. What was it? I was working at as a stocker at a store, Well, I was actually in the back that was unloading the stuff to be stocked in the shelves, and I was also working in a water plant. So this was like an ice mountain plant, right? Bottled water. And so that was a 12-hour job. And then you had the 5-hour job, 5 to 6 hour, depending on how long it took to throw the truck. I did that for about 4 or 5 days straight. At some point, because I would go and do the truck at Meyer, and then I would go and do this, be an inspector at the Ice Mountain plant, and it would happen right. I would go right afterwards. So I did that for a few days in a row, and at some point I began to lose sense of reality. I was coming home one day, and I was seeing weird shit in the road. I was incredibly sleep deprived. It was dangerous. So I called in and I said, I can't do this anymore. So and by the way, the water plant job was like a temporary. So that's why I went back to just doing the Meyer job. But anyway, it was horrifying, that condition. Working, those incredibly long shifts, it really messes with your head. It's terrible. And this is what these people were doing. They were working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, with people not having a day off in 5 months, weekends included. And so, again, that's horrible. That has a negative effect on everything. Now, Mark McCarter is a 59-year-old palletizer and union steward at the plant who worked there for about 37 years, told Vice, quote, "It seems like I go to one funeral a year for someone who had a heart attack at work or someone who went home to their barn and shot themselves in the head or hung themselves." So understand that is a serious toll on people's mental health. Okay. Another worker, Samuel Huntsman, explained that the forced overtime interferes with your health and your household. It leads to fights in the shop floor. He adds, with workers getting into arguments because they're cranky and mad and tired. Others at the plant have spoken of divorces caused by the schedules, in addition to suicides. So that was the situation. Now, Frito-Lay, they could have alleviated that situation a couple of different ways, right? For one, they could have just not had those shifts. They could have given people the weekend, whatever, right? Or if they wanted to keep up production, they could hire people. But apparently they refused to hire people. The company apparently hasn't budged when other workers demanded that they get time off by Frito-Lay hiring more people. Now, of course, they couldn't hire more people because that would mean more expenses and less profit. We can't have that. And now another worker told their story and added, this is Sherry Renfro, one of the striking workers, in an open letter, saying, when a coworker collapsed and died, you had us move the body and put in another coworker to keep the line going. Hey, that person just keeled over and died. Move them out of the way, put another body in there. We got to keep the line moving. Can't shut it down for nothing. That's a Dickensian nightmare. That's a dystopia right there. And we're living in it right now. That's it. We're living in a fucking dystopia. This is not happening in a quote unquote third world country. It's happening here in the United States, in Kansas, in a major city. OSHA, by the way, and Frito-Lay says, no, that didn't actually happen. Fake news. OSHA is investigating that situation, an incident that took place in May in the facility, and has previously fined the plant for cases involving vehicular accidents from overwork, obviously, and amputations from machines. At the Topeka plant, production has only increased during the pandemic, whereas people were used to working overtime around the holidays. They say they are now being pushed to their limits year-round as people across the United States up their intake of products made, packaged, and shipped out of Topeka. Lay's potato chips, Tostitos, Cheetos, Sun Chips, Fritos, and Doritos. So there's a list of things that you shouldn't eat. Okay. The company made about $4.2 billion in sales. And that's responsible for a 14% spike in revenue for the parent company, PepsiCo, whose stock has gone up as a result. And now you would think, hey, look, the conditions are terrible. The overtime is horrifying. But surely they must be paying their workers well enough now, right? You would think. No. Mark Banaka, business manager for bakery, confectionery, and tobacco workers and grain millers local 218, the union that represents some 600 of the Topeka workers, tells Labor Notes, between all of those industries, Frito-Lay sits at the bottom of the ladder as far as wage scales. This is why the workers are demanding a minimum of a $1 to $2 an hour raises. Recent matters have only intensified the problems at the plant. For instance, while management could stay home during the pandemic, workers were unable to, obviously. Some say that received no hazard pay or bonuses, while others speak of receiving a meager extra $100 a week as temporary. And that's just for a few weeks. Now, during a particularly hot summer, the plant lacks air conditioning. According to McCarter, at 7 a.m., our warehouse is 100 degrees. We don't have air conditioning. We have cooks in the kitchen on the fryers that are 130 to 140 degrees, making chips and sweating like pigs. Meanwhile, the managers are up in their office with air conditioning. Those conditions are what led workers to withdraw their labor in late June. Workers voted 353 to 30 in favor of authorizing a strike. I'd love to see who the 30 were. The work stoppage began on midnight of July 5th. I wonder if that was all like the people that could go into the air-conditioned office. So the result of this, by the way, is obviously support your workers, support labor. Don't buy the chips. Look, and this is me also like telling myself, don't buy the damn chips. I love chips. I'm kind of a fat guy. I love snack food. Don't buy it. I'm not going to buy it. Not until this is resolved. Not until people are paid a fair wage. Not until they get a goddamn air conditioner into the plant. Don't help the scabs. Don't buy the chips. Don't be a scab. In fact, here's what some of the workers say. Here's what the workers themselves that are striking are telling you or asking you to do. We would rather nobody buy Frito-Lay products. Fritos, Doritos, Tostitos, Funyuns, Cheetos, all those, while we're on strike. We make all of those in Topeka. We would rather nobody buys PepsiCo products while we're on the line. PepsiCo, of course, being the owner of Frito-Lay. So, workers are also asking the public to call PepsiCo's board of directors to urge them to bargain a fair and reasonable contract. A local magazine, 785, has also set up a fund to help pay strikers' water utility bills. And that's what needs to happen. Support striking labor. Don't buy the chips. But more importantly, support unions. Understand that like unions have been crushed for their ability to do things like this, to organize strikes and general strikes and supporting striking workers. Without unions, without strike funds, workers are unable to sustain themselves through strikes. A strike that lasts 2 or 3 days, and then people got to go back because they got bills to pay and they can't afford to feed their kids. Well, that gives the employer all the leverage they need. They just have to wait them out. But if you have a robust union and a strike fund, then you can say, what now? Right? Yeah, I guess you can go ahead and hire the scabs, but as far as the rest of us go, we're in strike. And we're here for the long haul until you come to the negotiating table. That's how it works. That's how it works. Okay? You've got to have that infrastructure and that support to get people through these strikes. And you can really expand that to if you're in support of a general strike, which I am. I'd love to see a general strike, but you have to have that infrastructure in place. And what's important to do is to build that. Unions served that function. Unions need to come back for exactly that reason and other reasons. So please, I implore you, fight for labor, fight to unionize if you're not. And I know that's a dangerous proposition. I know it's easy for me to say because a lot of people get fired for trying to support a union. And people are surrounded by, anti-union propaganda, like we saw with the Amazon, the warehouses. But you've got to try to get through to people. You have to. It's the only way that we can do that. So fight for the unions, except for police unions, because they suck. But if you keep fighting for labor, real labor, we can actually start to make some gains for the people, for all workers. Okay. Also, oh yes, instead of chips, get Ben and Jerry's. Ben and Jerry's, based. Not selling their ice cream in the Palestinian territories. As a way to, of course, get at the illegal Israeli occupation. Based! Hell yeah. I used to drink Coca-Cola. That's crazy. New flavor, based berry. Hell yeah. All right, anyway. Yeah. That's all I got, though, for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Why punish Palestinians for stopping? Loner Weirdo, do you think a lot of Palestinians can actually afford to buy that ice cream? It's kind of expensive. So, but anyway, yeah. Berry blast with Palestinian pistachios. Philosophical. Y'all are crazy. I love you, but that's... Oh, okay. So, all right. See if there are any more comments or super chats that I haven't addressed here. And of course, that never seems to work. Apartheid crunch. Oh, it's true. It's so true. Oh, God. All right, anyway. Let's go here. And I'm trying to figure out who to raid to. Who to raid into. Let's see. Super chats. Nope, I'm all caught up on that. So again, thank you for the very kind donations. By the way, if you want to support the show, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf. Do appreciate that when you do, or there's the super chats and all that stuff. If you like the work that I do, and I hope you do, and you can afford it, toss a coin if you can to your news guy. And if you can't, that's totally fine. You got to take care of yourself too. Things are tough out there, and we got an eviction moratorium that is that's gonna end pretty soon. We got housing crisis. We got a million things. So but if you can, please do. I appreciate it. All right. That said, let me check here on Twitch one last time. Hey, thank you for the new follows. And again, thank you for all the donations earlier. All right, everybody. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See y'all later. And you have a good one.
There's some whores in this house. Wet ass P-word.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Mike Pounds.
Please clap.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.